Hello and welcome to On Our Terms, a video series by AIA Contract Documents. My name is Colleen Telling and I am joined today by Mike Koger. We are both attorneys with AIA Contract Documents. Today Mike is going to be presenting on as-built record drawings and much more. So without further ado, Mike, I will turn this presentation over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Colleen. So one of the most common questions that we get at AIA Contract Documents is whether we have an official definition for terms like as-built drawings, record drawings, those kinds of phrases. Further muddying the waters are terms like measured drawings and conform documents for construction. I think that everyone in the design and construction industry has an idea of what these terms mean, but people sometimes get them, confused, or they use them a little bit differently, and folks want to know if there is some kind of official AIA guidance on these terms. So we're shooting this video in the hopes that we can answer some of these questions, but I do have to warn everyone that the answer is not entirely straightforward. So I promise I'm going to get to real substantive definitions in this video, but I have to make a few points first in order to set the stage. So the chart that you will see in this video on the screen is a chart from the B101-2017 Owner-Architect Agreement. This is our most commonly used owner-architect agreement. And this lists a whole bunch of supplemental services that the architect or potentially the owner may be responsible for providing on a project. Most architects are going to be pretty familiar with this chart. You'll find things like that are highlighted in here, like measured drawings, conform documents for construction, as designed record drawings, and as constructed record drawings. The first thing to take note of here is that the record drawings phrase is actually broken out into two categories: as designed record drawings and as constructed record drawings. Also, the term as-built drawings is noticeably absent from this list. And I'll get to that and the reasons for that in a moment. Also absent from this chart is any real substantive definition of these terms. You just get the terms themselves. And frankly, that's why we get a lot of questions about these terms. People see them in this chart and they want to know, well, what do they mean and what am I supposed to do if that box is checked? So the explanation as to why we just provide the term and not a definition in the B101 has to do with the nature of supplemental services themselves. Basic services, or all of those services that are found in Article 3 of B101, are the kinds of things that all architects do. And in Article 3, you'll find pretty thorough definitions for things like schematic design documents, design development documents, construction documents, and bidding documents. But supplemental services, the kinds of things that are in Article 4, are optional services that fall outside of an architect's basic services. Not all architects will perform all of the services that are in Article 4, and they might not be, certainly won't be required for every project. And also, when architects are performing supplemental services for a project, they're often not going to be performing them in the same way on the different jobs. So when it comes to supplemental services, we encourage the architect to insert the services that they intend to perform, those that are necessary for their particular project that makes sense for their particular engagement. Insert that language directly into Section 4.1.2.1 rather than us providing some rigid one-size-fits-all definition in the B101. We do have, for some of the items that are in the supplemental services chart, we have scope of services documents that you can reference if you want. Like, for example, if you were to check programming or historic preservation, we do have scope of services documents that you can reference. But for many of the items that are in the chart at 4.1, you'll just have to insert your own definition, depending on, whatever's necessary for your project. So that's not a particularly satisfying answer, but we do have suggested language in the instructions to the B101 that you could potentially insert into that section 4.1.2.1 that I just showed you on the screen, if it makes sense for your project. A lot of folks don't recognize or realize that we have instructions to each one of our documents, and those instructions sometimes will provide suggested language. So for example, we do have language that you could use for example, conform documents for construction. We clarify in the instructions to B101 that those are commonly identified as issued for construction documents, and they are the construction documents modified to include any addenda issued during the bidding or negotiation process and accepted alternatives. Most of the time, that is not going to be a basic service for the architect to go through that process of adding addenda into your bidding documents to create those conform documents for construction. That's why it's in the supplemental services chart. Also, the next term that we have is as designed record drawings, and these are the record of everything that the architect has designed for the project, and that includes things like the original construction documents, plus all the addenda, plus any architect supplemental instructions, change orders, construction change directives, and minor changes in the work. These are all things that kind of add to the as designed condition after construction documents are released throughout construction. And those are the things that architects normally would not incorporate back into the drawings that they've created, the original construction documents, but if an owner wants that, then they can pay the architect to do that kind of a service. And those are the as designed record drawings. Next is as constructed record drawings, and folks commonly refer to as constructed record drawings as builds, but they are the record of the project as constructed based on information that the contractor provides to the owner under the contract for construction. So in the further definition here, we say that because the as constructed record drawings will be based on the contractor's markups, the architect is not responsible for the accuracy or completeness of the as constructed record drawings. And so this is, of course, during construction, the contractor is marking up their drawings that they have, the construction documents, to note any kind of changes from the as constructed condition from the as designed condition. So that can be a fairly labor-intensive process for someone to go back through and incorporate all those markups into the construction documents. We don't really use the term as-built because, at least theoretically, there's no such thing as an as-built. I mean, trying to literally create a record of what has been built is very difficult with any precision, so we use the term as constructed record drawings. We think that's a better term for what folks would normally consider to be as-built. So we do not have suggested language for measured drawings. That was another one of the phrases that was used in the supplemental services chart. But the common understanding of that term is that they are drawings of an existing building or a portion thereof that are generated from field measurements. These are drawings that an architect might create at the beginning of a renovation project to understand the existing conditions of a building. Measured drawings are never going to be completely accurate, and they're typically only going to show basic dimensions of walls, doors, and other major components that are accessible to someone who's doing those measurements. So that is the lay of the land for the way the B101 and the AIA's contract documents program uses the terms as-built, record drawings, and all those other terms that I've mentioned. Colleen, I know you used to work in the construction and design field before becoming an attorney. Any questions or any input on any of these phrases that I've used?
I do not. I think this has been a very thorough explanation. My personal experience was we use the term as-built to record any final additions, deletions, changes on our construction drawings. But I think noting them as constructed record drawings is technically more appropriate and correct in this setting.
Yep, I think so too. I can remember when I used to do architecture work back before becoming an attorney, I would have my hand slapped numerous times by architects that when I would use the term as-built, they would say, nope, you mean record drawings. So I got that kind of drilled into me many years ago, and I think that same kind of philosophy you can see in the definition that we provide in the instructions. We're not actually using the term as-built. The phrase that kind of caught me off guard was conform documents for construction. I don't ever remember using that phrase a whole lot when I practiced architecture. It's familiar to me, but I don't remember us ever doing those or using that phrase. Colleen, have you ever done conform documents for construction the way we've identified it?
That is also not a term that we typically used. But again, appropriate in the technical sense of the meaning here.
Yeah, it makes some sense, but I just can't. I don't. It was the one that stood out to me as being a little bit, you know, outside of my realm of experience. So that's it. I hope this video helps folks understand at least the lay of the land from the AIA contract documents perspective with regard to these terms. And if you like this video, if you want to see more videos like it, go to our aiacontracts.org/learn page. We've got quite a few videos that are similar to this, where we take one pretty nuanced issue, talk about it for 10 minutes at some length. You can also go to our YouTube page at AIA Contracts on YouTube channel. We've got a number of these videos as well. If you have questions about content, feel free to contact us at docinfo@aia.org. And we also have a phone number here on the screen. If you have technical issues or questions about our software, executing contracts or finalizing them, you can contact us at our docs tech support at aia.org and the number on the screen. And last but not least, disclaimer, we cannot provide legal advice in this video. If you do need legal advice about a particular issue that pertains to your project, we recommend that you contact an attorney in your jurisdiction who's familiar with your state laws and is familiar with your particular project. Thank you very much.